All right. We'll get cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, there's Judy is the first one in. There we go. All right, guys. Welcome. Glad you all decided to join us. We're just getting started. So what is the question of the day for today, Jamie? Are we going to go musicians? We're going to go to cinema. What are we doing?
That's a great question. I don't know. I didn't think of it. You can't put these quizzes up last minute for me.
So for those of you who've never been to GovBrief before, one thing that we do when we start out is we say, all right, okay, so we'll do it this way. Who is your favorite where are you from, first of all? That's the first thing. Where are you from? And who's your favorite performer / musician kind of thing? So we'll keep it on the music vein. What do you think? Does that work?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So what's yours, Kelly?
Oh, no, I can't go first, Dave. I can't think that fast.
Oh, Kelly's not ready for that question. No one's ready for the quiz today.
I can't be. Tilt your camera down a little, Kelly, so everybody can see you. More your. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So that's the question. So that goes in the chat, by the way. So I'm from Woodstock.
You're from Woodstock?
I am from Maryland, Merlin, for those of us here. Atlanta, we have Prince. Okay. So Woodstock, Maryland. And mine is Springsteen. So there you go. That's my
Springsteen.
Springsteen. Okay. I am a nut when it comes to Springsteen. Just saying. So that's the question. So who's yours, Jamie?
I would have to say, I'm going to see Luke Bryan next week. So right now it's Luke Bryan I'm listening to.
Awesome. Ed Sheeran. Now we're start talking about the generations. All right, here we go. North Carolina, Alan Jackson. There we go. Nice, Kelly. Yeah. There we go. Oh, I put mine in the wrong thing because mine is only going to. I got to send it to everybody. This is me. Springsteen. All right, Kansas. Kenny Rogers or Josh Turner. All right, very gotta go. No one to hold him. So Virginia Pentatonics, love it. Virginia Billie Holiday. All right, there's one. That's a winner. Love that. All right, so the question of the day is where are you from and who your favorite musician / performer. So that's where we're headed. So those of you coming in, Colorado, David Byrne. David Byrne. I don't know if Christine. I don't know who David Byrne is. Am I just in the weeds or just getting old?
Talking Heads.
Oh, is that right? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I do know who that is. Oh, Arkansas says Bob Seger, Russell Smith. You better believe it. Yeah. And Patti LaBelle from Kansas. Love it. She had the best hair all the time. I remember her coming out just crazy hair, right? All right. Indiana Ness. All right. So the question is, where are you from? Favorite performer / musician for those of you just popping in. We'll get started in just a minute. Oh, BB King. Love it. The great state of Texas. DC Elton John. Love that, Jason. Man, what a great performer he is too. Adley Michael. Okay, got Adley. Are you a musician, Adley? Adley, who's your favorite? That's a question. James Taylor and Claudia. Love that.
James Taylor was just here in our area last week.
JT, what a really solid.
We have a bridge named after him in Chapel Hill.
Oh, is that right?
His dad was a chancellor there and he grew up there.
I had no idea that.
See, I told you Jamie was in the know when it came to everything about social and entertainment.
It's a bridge. How do you miss a bridge?
All right. So let's see who else. George Strait, New York. So the question is for you just landed, Reba, where are you from and who's your favorite performer / musician? And we'll get started in just a minute. Minnesota, we got Reba from Daniel. And Emily likes George Strait. Let's see. Michael from Oklahoma. G Love and Special Sauce. Wow, I don't even know. That's a new one for me, Michael. Love it. It's a cool name though. Brian Culberson. Okay, from Texas, Mary from Texas. And Colorado is Shaky Graves. All right. I don't know who that is either. So I need to get out. So I got to get out of this place and check out some of these. Let's see. Willie Nelson. Love it, Samuel. Let's see. Michael McDonald. Yeah. Man, he sang on like every song in the 70s, like at the end of the 70s and the 80s. He was on everything in the background. Yeah, buddy. California Fallout Boy. All right. Baltimore Beatles from James. Okay, going classic. Love it. Another classic, Nat King Cole. Atlanta, Georgia Beatles, and Oregon Offspring. Man, I don't even know that one. Django Reinhardt. All right. I'll take your word for that, Susan. And let's see, we get a couple more, and then we'll get Stevie Wonder from Cynthia, John Legend from Iowa, Carlet, Iowa, and Mahogany Rush. Nice, Gilbert and Matthew got it right. Matthew found mine. Matthew Lee's got the boss. He's from New Jersey, and he has to have the boss. That's the only way to go. All right, love it. Turnpike. All right, Troubadours, love it. Bruce Springsteen from New Jersey. Amy, yes, you. So anybody that's from New Jersey can stay. That's all I have to say. You got it. All right, fantastic. Love it, everybody. Welcome to the briefing. I'm going to get my act together here and actually share this thing out so we actually get some work done, right, Jamie?
That's right. Let's go.
let's make some waves. All right, welcome everybody. I'm especially welcoming Jamie Blackburn and Kelly Chapman. Both of those folks have worked with iAdvantage software. A lot of work that has been done with EPA and USDA, bridging the gap there. Tell us a little bit about iAdvantage real quick, and we'll.
Sure. So we're here in Cary, North Carolina. We've been around since 2003. As a software company, and before that we were founded by a group of scientists who do science every day, every way. And we were based out of necessity. We were founded in 2003. So 30 years of capturing data, from capturing it to management to reporting of it. We support both USDA, EPA, and FDA type of reporting that comes from sponsors and such. And we're a small business, and of course we are a GSA schedule holder.
Love that. Oh, love that. Love that. So we want to welcome. This is really an audience of USDA, mostly USDA, EPA folks, and creating the communication so that we can have better data. That's what the whole thing is for. So this will be the best briefing ever. Ryan says, if I learn stuff. Eileen says, real important. Ryan, we meet Ryan's high level, learn stuff. Eileen, gain a better understanding of our organization's data collection, compilation, communication, reporting projects. Love that. Claudia, I get a useful snapshot of how EPA is using the eStudy iAdvantage platform. Love that one. That's right down your alley, right there, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we are. You got to share your camera again, Kelly. Something got kicked off. There she is. I knew she would do it. James, dealing with the incompatible data sets. Oh, that's a big deal, isn't it? Sometimes mutually exclusive, sometimes just off key, just a little bit. James is on point. Sheila, I learned an effective way to collect flood data. I do believe we may be able to help a little bit with that. We can talk a little bit about what flood data looks like. Zakia, it's detailed and easy to understand. We'll try to do both of those. Susan, case studies are included. We got case studies, Jamie?
We have case studies.
We have case studies. So best
Especially
briefing ever here for Susan, because you have a case study. Jason, I get 1 to 5 tools, 1 to 5. So there's a good spread there that improve my day-to-day work. Hopefully we can do that, Jason. Brooke, focus on interagency coordination of collected data. Whoa, you hit on one right there, which is, hey, the data's got to be able to be transportable across the agencies, which is why we do interagency briefings to begin with, right? So please address, this comes from on when you guys came in, best practices for streamlining reports. Fantastic, Laura. We'll take a look at some of that. Jessica, best quality control practices for collection. Claudia, what's the best plan for meeting the big data challenges that will be presented? Ooh, big data challenges always can be affected by how you collect that data. Am I right, Kelly?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Eileen, data collection framework, integrating scientific methodology. Eileen is my new favorite person for this because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Isn't that right, Jamie?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that's facts. Celine, what are the steps of data cleansing and what are the different considerations for different types of data? Whoa, data cleansing, problem on the back end because stuff isn't right on the front end. Just a little tidbit of what you're going to catch today. Linda, explain how to cover extra costs associated with some practices like GLP. What in the world does that mean? Does anybody know GLP?
We do.
We absolutely do.
Good
Okay, what is
laboratory
that?
practices.
What is GLP, Kelly Chapman?
Good laboratory practices.
All right. I already learned stuff. Ryan, you and me, we're golden. I learned something new today. I learned new stuff. All right, Trisha, validation procedures. Fantastic. We love that. Just real quick, session agenda. We already did a little bit of the introductions. I'll give you some briefing controls so we can communicate. We'll talk about the challenges, the framework of how to create a great design, choosing the platform for scientific methodology. That's what Eileen wanted. So we're going to hit what Eileen wanted. And maximizing your data flexibility, integrity. Integrity is a big deal, making sure that it's good. We'll get to your Q&A, recommended action steps and additional resources and procurement options. You will have, for your reading pleasure, the briefing presentation iAdvantage capability that's popping in right now. If you have never been on a Zoom meeting, I can't imagine that's the case anymore, but maybe you haven't, and you can go up top there and choose side by side and use that little doodah. That's a very technical term, that little doodah that you can drag back and forth. If you would like to participate, you may at any time. You can chat, you can raise your hand, Q&A. We have a bunch of folks here, it's 131. So why don't we do this? If you want to do the Q&A, if you want to have a question, pop it in the Q&A or raise your hand and we'll make sure you get you interacted, and we'll use the chat for things like our favorite musicians and performers. A real quick disclaimer from GSA, shocking as it may be, this event is not affiliated or endorsed by GSA or any agency. It's provided to you for informational purposes. And your participation, this is what makes it available for you to participate, is not an endorsement or commitment to purchase from any vendor, including iAdvantage. Sorry about that, Jamie. That's just the way that it is. And so what made you guys decide to join us today? I'm in management. I want my data to work. I'm in R&D. You can choose as many as you want, by the way, and have a current data collection need. I'm tired of scrubbing bad data. I'm in procurement and want to know about iAdvantage, or my boss made me come, and I knew we had Weisenheimers even before I got that out of my mouth. All right, so let's talk about this. Kelly, let's talk about what we're going to be doing here today. What is the discussion that we're doing? Are you on mute? Go ahead.
We want to better understand exactly what you need and what we can do for you, or whether or not we fit your needs. We have years of experience in this space of collecting data, and particularly in the same areas that EPA and USDA and FDA work. So we are ready to hear all about it and to tell you about what we know about good data.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. And always, the better you get it on the front end, the better off it is on the back end. Isn't that right, Jamie?
That's right.
That's right. All right, there you go. So we have 59, we have 50% of the people participated here. You have, oh, there we go. 50% so far. You guys can answer that. It's painless. All right. Jamie, while they're doing that, tell us about some of the big data challenges that we have. And it is incredible how much data that we're collecting today.
So, I mean, the first thing is the whole world is dealing with the fact that we're drinking from a fire hose, as they say. 4 filing cabinets worth of data is pouring at us every 15 minutes. That's exabytes. When we start talking exabytes, and soon to call someday yottabytes, who knows, but there's plenty of space that they're going to make for us, and we're going to keep creating and keep dealing with it. The thing that we're going to emphasize today is how to start off. start now and start setting a strategy to deal with this data later on, because there's huge issues here with managing all this data. The summation, the derivation, the manipulation, what they call the provenance, which is, where did this data come from, is becoming harder and harder to find. There's poor documentation. It just knowing where to get the right data and how to get it is becoming a bigger issue. There's huge integrity gaps coming and showing up. And then there's tricky to convert it from data into the insights, which is the whole reason we're collecting the data. And it's just getting too much to actually continue and practice good, I guess you say, data analysis and all the huge impact data science is having us. So in order to, with the growing data for business intelligence, it just won't scale. It just won't be easier later, because something magical will show up. So we're going to emphasize some of the key things to think about today. And the most important is that there's just continued review, this set of strategy in place, and continue to review it, continue to look at your data, and continue to find ways. So all the stakeholders involved can actually basically put input to how we're collecting data.
And I couldn't agree more. We've done a few of these, so we have a lot of good feedback already, but we want to know, and I have a guess as to how this is going to come out, because we've done some of these. So how do you currently collect the data? Is it spreadsheet, paper forms, phone, email, survey tool, or professional survey contractor? Let us know what you have there, because I'm telling you, I'll be shocked, Jamie, if it doesn't come up exactly the same as it did the last time when we've done this with different agencies. And we do have, let's see if we have anything. I love it. Kelly's busting on people to get on the poll. Love that.
Yeah, we want at least 90% participation. So if you're multitasking, take a pause and answer these polls, please, so we can.
Chanel Daniel says, too many spreadsheets. And you're right. And I tell you, that's exactly, look at that. Spreadsheets are going to take it. It's going to take it, because that's where we live. But we do have some survey tools, right?
That's right.
But it winds up getting in there. And we still do have paper, right? We have folks that are still do things by phone and email, right?
Absolutely.
All those things. We know what these things are. So while they're finishing that up, and I'll give everybody like 5, 4, 3, 2, 82. That's not bad. 72%. That's better than the last one. 74, 3, 2, 1. Anybody sneaking in at the end? Boom. There you go. Here we go. Here's what it looks like.
Yay, way to go, team.
81%. 81% spreadsheets. And spreadsheets are just totally flawless, as we know, right?
Totally. No issues can be had.
No problem with integrity of data at all with spreadsheets. All right, let's talk about getting to the true value, because you want to have data that's usable, right? That's the whole idea.
So the whole concept that I'm stressing here is that before you even start a methodology is to take on the responsibility, to stand back and say, okay, I'm going to get data and I'm going to do analysis or reporting of data. And so these are some of the key rules as the data gatherer need to take. One is you're responsible. It's your idea to collect it. It means you need to put the time in. It can't be last minute. It can't be an afterthought. You got to sit back and do the pre-design, so to speak. When asking for data, the initial values are critical and expensive. It's important to know that this is taking people's time. I know that it could be just a few seconds. We just wasted how much money asking for your poll, right? So it's very important to know that if you took that and extrapolated out, it ends up adding a lot to costs.
That's true.
And mistakes in data analysis can be expensive because you can't go back. You can't ask them again. Is there anything worse than having a second or third email where they say, oh yeah, we need to also know this, or we need more clarification? So
that would never happen Jamie, that doesn't happen in the EPA or USDA ever.
Well, I'm talking just working with you, Dave. It's just keeping it straight up. So for me, you got to take on this responsibility. It's a responsibility that can change around many people. And you got to make sure that this is your position. This is how you're posturing at this point in time. To get that true data, you got to take on that responsibility.
So the next question that we have it might seem like when we're asking the same question, but first it was, how do you collect it? Now, how do you manage it?
That's right.
And so this kind of goes on top of that to say, all right, if it's on paper, then it's staying in paper, ladies and gentlemen. And you can choose, you have multiple choice here. You can choose as many as you want. But database, Microsoft Excel, that would be spreadsheet land, and custom data management or some other way where somebody can pop, if you have an other in there, pop that into the chat so we can be there. And Dora says, QA of data needs to be accurate. Garbage in causes garbage out. Dora, you are so on point. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Because it starts with the framework. Because if you're not starting with the framework, you're going to have bad data. Am I right, Jamie?
That's right.
That's right. And so, yeah, participation is easy. If you want to kick something out, we can do that in the chat or in the Q&A. We love that. But here we go. And
I just want to throw in also, Dave, that as on the last screen, we were talking about having to go back and get more information. Often in biological systems, that's not even an option, or in R&D work. You got one chance to get the right data, get it recorded, and get it to where it needs to be. And so we're very familiar with those types of systems. And that's part of what we're talking about today, is how to make sure you get it right the first time.
That's right. If you have, no matter what system you're using, you get it right on the inbound, then you can use it. Just like Dora said, garbage in, garbage out. Michael is talking about, started moving a lot of our data into SharePoint lists. Yep, that's happening too. There's nothing, and again, it's not about necessarily the system. The system certainly helps. The system needs to lock some things down, though. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. All right, another 5, 4, 3.
Come on, everybody.
2,
we want to beat our last total.
It's 73%, and boom. Well, no, actually 88. We got 88. There's more people here, obviously. So no shock here. Excel is the leader, as it would be, because you're all using spreadsheets still. All right, cool. Awesome. So let's talk about the strategy. And if you're doing it, you got to have a good strategy. You said it already.
So the concept is, right, you've put on your data hat, you've taken the responsibility. Now you got to approach it, right? You got to get ready to start playing the game. So the first thing is, you got to keep all your requests extremely simple and straightforward. 2 people will say they like music, but 2 people will say, I like Bruce Springsteen or I like Luke Bryan. So it's very important that you really know.
You had to write one, Jamie. That's it right there.
The boss. And it's absolutely one of the more important things is that you start off with what everyone knows and you keep the denominators very low. Carefully designed. You are a designer. You're designing the data collection. It's a very important process that you anticipate and foreshadow what you're going to collect in the end. It's almost like you could run it in a simulation in your mind. And you should have an expert who knows how to deal with data. There's some amazing people out there who know how bad data results in bad situations. So it's always good to start up front, decide what to collect and how to protect it. And what to collect and how to protect it means you have to make sure too that you're not asking for things you shouldn't ask for and all that sort of thing. You select a project platform. You know, we like our platform. We're quite proud of ours, but it doesn't matter because the rules still stay the same. You collect clean, verified data. There is no second try. So you really have to work this out very early on. You got to have a good strategy in place. Stay to the strategy. I know your boss is over your shoulder saying we got to have this out by Tuesday, but it's critical that you spend time at this to getting it right. All right, so carefully design and define the categories. This is actually quite key because people will sometimes get confused if you ask the same question differently. Ensure all data is entered in the same format. You want everyone who responds, and we have cases where people have to respond around the world in different languages. It doesn't mean that we have people abbreviating or something like that. So we want that the conforming factor to be in place with whatever product you're using, with Excel. Close-end responses. You ask yes and no, not can you please tell me about. Numeric codes versus character strings. This is just good practices that by using codes, it sometimes way outdoes the ability to use character strings. If any data is unknown, research method to best handle. So you should spend a lot of time on these. You should spend a lot of time saying, well, what could they answer in this type of thing? If a data scientist will analyze collected data, please focus on keeping the data at a raw format so they can, what they say, consume. Data scientists use that word a lot. So they can consume it in the way they want or the way they see their design of whatever they're trying to report on. And then there's metadata. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but this is data about data. This is a growing area that many people are starting to look at, which is describing the data. So even if you have a simple column like state, it could be you want to describe that those states are of these codes. Test data for a few cases. Test, test, test. You only get one chance, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. You want to measure twice, cut once.
I love that. And so future ready, what does that mean?
Sure. So that's where I talked about metadata a little bit. So there is a large movement that whenever you describe data, when you say in Excel, for instance, a column, you describe what that column is. I have seen people have some of the greatest systems to abbreviate data to keep the column headers minimized. And it's impossible for anyone to interpret. I dare you to give a same Excel sheet to more than to the next person, and them not want to change your Excel sheet, right?
Ooh.
So it's key that we start describing this data the way we know it in our business or the way we know it over time, right? It used to be today PTSD was yesterday shell shock, right? Words change over time. You have to be able to describe. So as people, you don't want to collect data that doesn't have a life. So you want to be able to let them to go back and say, well, I'm looking for people describing this sort of condition, say. And finally, there's even a big move in science where we use a FAIR. And FAIR means it's findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And of course, it has to be what they call federated. Federated means that it is protected. You can't just share data. Sometimes it has to be hidden from some people, but it doesn't mean that the other data is not usable and quite useful to them.
Yep, I agree. And even though many people say life isn't fair.
That's right.
Real quick, Catherine,
data should be fair.
Yes, we'll have a copy of the slides afterwards. You can actually get the copy of the slides now because we'll post that in so you can pop and you'll have those a link to that right now.
Before
Terry,
we move on,
yeah.
I would just like to also say that, more and more this whole slide here and what Jamie has been discussing on the last couple becomes more and more important. And I'm sure everybody on the call today probably realizes that it's not only new data that you're collecting, but how do we leverage the data from the past? How do we bring it together and so forth? So we're very aware of the fact that there are a lot of challenges out there, not only with going forward, but also trying to utilize what was collected in the past for your agencies and sharing data between agencies.
Absolutely. Very big. So let's talk about the scientific methodology for the scientists out there. We got a bunch of them on here, by the way.
And the scientific methodology for us is the right practice to use in this case. And it doesn't matter whether you're using Excel, it doesn't matter whether you're using our product, it doesn't matter, there's many products, but bottom line is you have to do this in a distinct order and take the time with each one. So the first one is defining the problem, the data requirement, designing the process in which you're going to do it. Sometimes we kind of rush this at the end and it should be right at the beginning and taking lots of time. I won't say percentages, but certainly this is in a higher percentage use of your time. Then you have to manage the process and the data collection. So unfortunately, you actually have to start collecting it, make sure you're collecting the right thing. And then you have to review, communicate, and report that data, right? And chances are you're going to find things that you need to either add or change. And if you notice more and more in the world, we don't want to just delete things and change it. We want to actually append it. We want to, like blockchain append. You want to add it on so you have track of what was done and what we needed now that's new. So you have to have this methodology repeat over and over. And when you do this, we have found, as Kelly will tell you as our scientist, it is successful. Even though it takes time, even though it does feel like it slows you down, it actually speeds you up. And not only that, it keeps going. It is scaling later on. So when we're drinking from this fire hose, that data starts falling into places, right? Nothing feels better than that. So that 10 years down, you're still collecting data the same way, same practice, and you can manage it.
That's right. And
And
I'm
Jamie, you'll
Go ahead,
talk
sir.
about it more, but the fire hose is on the other end as well. When it comes to reporting data, communicating data, and so forth, it's equally as overwhelming sometimes. And the beginning dictates the end. So having it right to start with is critical.
That's right.
And Eileen was the one that brought that up in the please address. So Eileen, if you want to pop in and talk about what you have cooking, because I think the fact that you were talking about scientific methodology, and I think Claudia was the other one that was mentioning how this has to work. It has to work on the front end, and that scientific methodology, very, very important. So if you guys want to talk about that, or we can unmute you, just raise your hand and I'll make sure we get you unmuted.
Sure.
Let's talk about the design on this.
Sure.
And we'll get into some of the case studies.
We've postured as a data collector. We've given ourselves time and taken a strategy that we're going to continue on with. And now we're saying, okay, we're going to follow the scientific methodology and we're going to use that as our guiding light. And then finally, we're going to now start designing. Now, this is where you get your most creativity, and you're trying to minimize those things that you may have to ask twice. How many times have you filled a form 3 times? Well, maybe your system or such is smart enough to pull those things in for you. We believe that scientists should design what's going to end up being collected by scientists. That's our practice here. Kelly has designed more than enough things using our product, and I'm sure she has lots of points about that. But you quickly create studies with all the supporting study information. There's articles, there's treatments, there's test systems. There's lots of things to include sometimes, other than just asking people some simple questions. So you have to be able to do this quick and fast, and you have to be able to do this with confidence, right? That's a key item. Security of data protection, well, this is just growing. Compliance and adherence is going to become bigger in our lives, let alone the amount of data. So there's 2 things I know that are going to happen in the future. We're going to have a lot more data to deal with. And we're going to have a lot more rules and regulations and such to say what we can collect, when we collect it, and how we collect it.
And security, never going to go away.
It'll become better. It always does. But right now, how many times, right? You have to answer some things or not ask some things. So then there's the collection, right? So you've designed it well, you feel good. It's Sunday night, you're done, you're ready to go. Monday's going to happen. Now you're going to actually do it. Well, you have to make sure and collect it. It's always uniform and consistent. In other words, everyone answers the same situation, same way. Like I said, we deal with this across the world, and it's always a challenge. Lots of geographies, lots of different places, in our case, labs. With user-defined templates, sometimes different users like to have it collect the same way. We'll have different sponsors ask for different things. We have to deal with the fact that the network's not everywhere. I happen to have a great network right here, but not everyone has phenomenal networks like I have. And so you have to deal with online and offline. Sometimes people aren't in front of a network. And then you have to start, again, the security and compliance. We talked about electronic signatures. We have to deal with auditing. We have to be able to go back and know the origination. We have to know when someone changed something that we can capture it correctly.
Before you move on, I would just like to say that if we have scientists who are listening, but also working on something else, stop and look up, because the first bullet on that slide that we just had there, Dave, if you can go back, uniform and consistent collection is key. And often as scientists, we're independent and have an idea of how to do things, but we have to come to an agreement. What units are you going to use? What terms are you going to use? Because if it's not consistent, you got problems with the data from the day one that you collected.
We could almost create acronym bingo as our next question for another event, because some people call the same thing 5 different ways, right? That's the beauty of our world.
So I don't have this as a standard poll. You're going to type this in. How do you communicate your data? Put that in the chat while we're doing this. And then we're going to start talking about reporting, because we know one of the biggest challenges is how you get the information out to people, right?
That's right.
And then how do you collect it, and how do you disseminate the information for everybody else? So let us know how you communicate your data. They share drives. written reports and presentation of webinars. All right. Lucila and Jason. So there's two different ways. Website, Claudia, using a website, right? Driving stuff out to the web. What else we got? Spreadsheets and written report. Tony, that happens a lot, I know. What else we got?
Let us know if you just communicate the raw data out, if you just basically push it out to people so that they can see it versus a report or a standardized format.
Oh, we have Power BI dashboards. Nice. Written reports, PowerPoint briefs, maps. Depends on who I'm communicating to. Shared drive, SharePoint, portals, email reports. Carla's hitting on something. It really depends. Public meeting. Love it, Claudia. Town hall meetings, filtered and personalized reports, analysis report, recommendations, communications, feedbacks. Love it. Dashboard, Excel, PDF summaries, all of those things, right? And if you got any others that you want to pop in there, I know a lot of people have the same things, but those are all ways to be able to get those things out. So while I'll read some out if we need to, but Jamie, take us through this report.
Sure. So we've designed it. We started collecting it. Of course, during the collection, you can check in when your boss says, hey, I need to know how we're doing, or you want to check on. You can always see your data because our data is real time in our case. I'm sure some of these solutions I've seen, that's more of the case now, digitized data real time, taking the edge world and bringing it back into a central view. But reporting is a critical factor for us, and that because we create massive amounts and lots of reports, and we have to be able to do it by almost any user-defined method, right? So we are constantly having to set in a good way to do something and make it repeatable. But we also sometimes get someone who comes along and says, hey, what about this? Can you show me this? All of those are available. It's a key factor. Whatever product you use, you have to be able that the reporting makes it easy. Because is there anything worse than it's late in the day and you have to get a report out, you promised it by the end of business. And I swear reporting probably is 80% of end of business not being met, or at least making my end of business day late. So it's important that all these formats are provided for and that you can do things in a repeatable way. Is there anything worse than seeing a report one way and their creativity kicks in and you see it another way the next time? Well, the EPA and USDA, they don't allow us to do that all the time. So we actually have to come up with templates and standard formats. The data might change, but the look has to be the same. So it's probably the third critical leg of our stool right here.
Love it. And so let's just a quick summary, and then we're going to get into some case studies.
So the key is you're going to spend the time on design. You're going to spend as much time as you can to design. You're going to collect it, which sometimes takes a long time, sometimes could be time-based, sometimes could be very short and sweet, but it's up to you to figure out when that point is. And sometimes I wouldn't doubt that design can outweigh the collection. And then finally, you're going to have to report on it. You're going to have to do it probably again and again and again. So you have to have this as a good practice. And we feel like some of the biggest problems are we do one-offs all the time. We find after a while that one-offs are really a workflow. We need to come up with a good way. Well, this is a perfect situation in which using the scientific methodology allows you to follow this workflow so that later on, 10 years from now, I don't know where my data was 10 years ago, but later on, 10 years from now, if you have these strategies and practices in place, you'll find that your data should start conforming for you. And it's still going to be massive. I have no clue how big it's going to be, but I do know one thing. It shouldn't be that complex. It shouldn't be that hard.
And Claudia brought this up the way that she does it when we were asking about how do you deal with the communication. And one of the things you're putting out here is to say, hey, let's just talk about a platform. If you're going to do a platform, you can create a platform or use a platform. This is the baseline that you have to use, right? In order to make it work.
Yeah, these are the things that you should look for in choosing the way you're going to collect your data. It's a key point that all of them come together and it can be used for all of these, what I call the three legs of the stool. So one is cloud-based, which is sort of new, I guess, in some ways. It's 100% web-based architecture, right? Because you never know what clients are going to have and how they're going to collect the data. It's scalable, meaning that whether you're collecting 10,000 or you're collecting 10, it should work just as well. It allows for data exchange and integration. Data scientists, they're incredible. That whole discipline is growing at such great speed, and their abilities to take data and use it is just a matter of you offering it up. So APIs and the ability, programming interfaces, and the ability to exchange it in an automated or automagic way is critical. It's 100% compliant. For us, it's about the data. You have to have the confidence. The key thing for us after all these years is that scientists will say that they have high confidence in quality of data. And then you want that immediate access. Stakeholders, I don't care who you are, your boss will always ask you on the first one, how are we doing the first day? Isn't it better to give them, hey, we have 43, or like here, we have a poll of people telling us what they use. And it's easily customized because everyone has a different use, but after a while you find that by being so different, we're all the same.
That is so true. So let's talk about scientific methodology. That's what your platform is built on. That's the first thing. So everything that you're seeing streamlined into that as a process. But the flexibility is amazing from what you're able to collect and make sure it's uniform. And that way it can be reported out in EPA reports, USDA reports, FDA reports, whatever the report structure. And you mentioned it before, EPA said, I don't care what the data is, but the format has to be the same. So you want to make sure that gets transferred, or is at least able to be used within all of the framework in the other agencies. Isn't that right?
Yes, and beyond that, just the ability to link so many different moving parts. And this is part of why it is so important to have a platform that can facilitate different types of data coming from different locations, and also make it very clear who can access which pieces and so forth. So our platform has been used for quite some time. We work with analytical labs, with processing labs, with biological contract research organizations, and then we report back into EPA and USDA and so forth, FDA. But we have the capability to handle most any kind of information and to standardize that so that it doesn't matter which lab we're working with, or which field site, or which biological entity type of study that we're running. We can utilize this same platform for any of that information, and standardize it across years as well as across studies or experiments within the same year. Basically, the platform is agnostic to what the data is, and the variables can be defined such that every time you put information in for that particular variable, it's going to have the same look to it. If you do apply artificial intelligence in the future, or if you want to combine information across studies or across sites. So the platform really makes the capability to have global sites across the United States, across different countries, etc. And those people be able to communicate information about the same experimental design. In addition to that, as we've just been talking about, it has the capacity to pull all of that together and give the administrator or study director or scientist the opportunity to then define what that report should look like. And once it's defined, to use that over and over. So I threw a question in the chat about, are you creating reports manually or automated with your current system, even if you need 5, 6, 10 different reports? And I put that in there because it'd be interesting to see what the current system's capabilities are. Yep. With our system, you can definitely define different reports and save them. And at the touch of a button, you have a report that comes out of the system that's about 90% complete. And then, of course, the other 10% is editing by the scientists that are authoring that report.
Nice. And I guess what I saw, look at this right down here. That new word I found out about, GLP. is all.
Yeah, and you also just pointed to QA, and I noticed that there might be quite a few QA people on this call, and
Yep.
we actually have used this system for QA as well as the scientific data collection. So it's pretty agnostic to what your needs are, and it can bring together your scientist and your QA or QC needs all in one platform.
And Melanie says, assuming this is compliant with 508 WCAG, which is that has to deal with disabilities, right?
That's right. Yep.
And then manually, and Claudia is saying manually, but definitely look at it automated. So she definitely wants to automate that. So you've had a lot of different growth within this and the types of projects that you've done over the course of time. What are you seeing as some of the things that coming down the pipe that you have?
Kelly, do you want to take that? Or should I mean, part of these numbers I'm showing you is just to show you the magnitude of work we're doing all the time. These are all things that were gone through the scientific methodology of designing and continue collection, but this is the platform that we're talking about, that every day, every way, there's huge databases of very important data that we're keeping for years at times, and it's growing all the time. And right now there's probably people entering their responses into variables right now as we speak. But some of the trends we're seeing is just the whole cloud move, all of the new capabilities to interact with other systems in the cloud, especially in our world with agriculture. We're seeing quite a bit going on for Microsoft Azure and such. And certainly with government systems, it's easy to see that it might be that our platform is a great way to start integrating as different people are collecting. But more so, there's already data been collected other ways that are in like we see like SharePoint and I'm sure some other databases. It just makes us easier and easier with APIs. We probably have the most significant request about getting to our data to feed other systems as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in an automated way, right? So it's sort of a growing area that I guess nowadays we're not held down by the walls and the lines that were drawn. So now we can get to things and give things more so than ever.
Yeah,
so,
and I would just add that there's a lot of growth and new things coming in terms of, I think Jamie could echo this, but we are part of the active community within agriculture. And so whether it's drone data or other image data or Jamie might have mentioned, but devices that are collecting data, IoT devices, we are constantly being asked by our current clients, can we integrate this? Can we change this? Or, and everybody in the industry, as well as in government, as we've said already today, is looking at how do we pull together our old data from different systems, et cetera. And, is there a way that this system can help us do that? Or can we learn from the fact that this system has maybe better data integrity and data governance than some of the other systems, and what variables we've used here? So we are constantly evolving based on what's going on in the industry.
Sorry. Wow. Hold on.
That's all right.
I was scrolling through the chats and didn't realize if you take it off the chat, it then moves into the PowerPoint. So there's something new for today. All right. So question, and you already answered a little bit, but is your platform for only research data only? And the answer is no, because the flexibility, it's a framework, right? It just has the scientific methodology as a framework, right?
That's right. That's our best practice, right? That's the thing that we focus on.
And
I think it's key to understand that just basically means how we look at designing variables and setting up the platform initially if you are dealing with non-scientific data. And so it absolutely does not have to be only scientific data, only research.
Awesome. And then the question is SharePoint a database? That's a great question. It has database components.
It has database behind it. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
SharePoint's a
So,
complex project. I would love to talk to folks who are using SharePoint today, because we think that there's a lot of ways that we can integrate.
Yep. All right. And Bayo is asking again, our current business system has a lot of data that might be interesting to researchers. I'm sure it is. That's awesome. So being able to share that information and make it useful, that's what this is all about, right, Jamie?
That's right.
Yeah. So those of you who saw this earlier, you knew there's a poll coming. We want to continue the conversation. There's a lot of folks that may have to be jumping. We're going to keep going back and forth with Q&A. There's a couple of pieces that we want to make sure we hit. Number one, so if you want to continue the conversation, when you want to do it, and what do you want to be done? Is it developing the framework, engaging the collection, cleaning up my data? I'll let you know when we get together next. Okay, fantastic. So we'll keep that running. And again, participation is easy to be able to do that. Let's see.
We would love to hit 90% participation on this poll. So again, anybody out there, give us an answer.
That's right. All right. So our current business system has a lot of data. It's about Bayo. I'm sorry if I'm messing that up. Has a lot of data that may be interesting. How would that be done? How would it be done to be able to share information with those researchers? How can we help Bayo on that?
I would love to talk about that and see what the right strategy would be to approach something like that.
Yep.
And to Jamie's point, it's
In
so
April.
dependent upon what the current system looks like and what the data is.
So if anybody wants to talk about this in April, obviously that did not get adjusted. But yeah, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that, but it wouldn't be April because that'd be a little bit far down the line.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No, but it is a wide open invite to
Yep.
calling us, and we'll get some smart people in the room.
That's right.
We love to talk about problems.
And scientists like Kelly. I love how cool is to have somebody like Kelly who's been digging in this world for a long time. So while we're doing that, you're welcome, Claudia. And session takeaways, take us through this a little bit. It's of how it's done. There were some folks asking about this actually on the front end, which is fantastic in and of itself.
So our platform was built to take advantage of scientific methodologies. We were built by scientists, our software, on necessity to prevent using paper and such. Good design equals good data, and you cannot scale your bad data. So the garbage in, garbage out, re-emphasize it. Take the time now, take the time up front. Measure twice, cut once.
Love that. Love it, love it, love it. And as I mentioned earlier, because you were here, there's no obligation to purchase from anybody. But if you do, you can, because GSA contract, you already have one of those. So that's good. You can help, you can run things through that, get with your contracting officers, procurement side. And also if you are on the procurement side, I know that iAdvantage can work through partners. Just let us know or let them know how you'd like to handle that. You will get a briefing recap email next week. You'll have one that comes today, which will have the recording because some folks have been asking about that, as well as the presentation, and a link to be able to schedule a one-on-one meeting to continue the conversation for the 39 of the folks that want to continue the conversation. Always love that. And you guys can assemble teams. That's a big, important thing for you guys to be able to assemble folks to make sure that you get the biggest benefit, biggest bang for the buck. So there'll be one that comes out next week as well. And we just want to say thanks for joining us. Happy 4th of July extended weekend, everybody. I know that's very cool. Some people are checking out even after this. I know this because I talked to some of the folks. Let's see, we got anything else that we want to throw in here? We got thank yous from Loretta, from Candace saying a great presentation. So you guys are awesome, apparently. Very engaging. Love that.
Well, thank you.
Loretta, you're welcome. Sherilyn, you're welcome. Terry, you're welcome. And Brooke is welcome. Everybody else is not welcome because they're not thanking us, apparently. But
come on now, Dave, behave. We appreciate everybody's time. Time is precious. So
thank you, Dave. Dave, thank you.
Hey, it was a good time. Great job. Great. I always love hearing Kelly. Awesome job being able to make data entertaining and engaging. It's awesome to do. So I'm gonna end this poll so that you guys can get out of here. Any parting comments from you?
No, just thank you everybody for joining us.
It's a good time. Good time. Again, Kelly, awesome. And especially all the folks from New Jersey who love Springsteen. Appreciate you guys joining us.
And the best thing to do if anybody has questions is to reach out to Jamie, because every system is different. And without some information, it's hard for him to answer your question specifically. So
I love talking about anything. So please feel free anytime.
Awesome. Great job, guys. Thanks for everybody. Appreciate it. See you guys later.